Have you seen those videos of the dogs that every time they let them out of the house, they just like run full speed into a leaf pile? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm told I have golden retriever energy, so maybe that's fine.
You do have golden retriever energy.
Welcome back to Ask a Kansan, podcast where we are talking to Kansans about their interests and the things they're passionate about. And today is no different. We have a Kansan, a friend of mine named Carl Bowden, who's actually my leadership coach.
And I know Carl just because I went to a random party at his house. Before he became a leadership coach. Let's just put
What an introduction.
but Carl's very passionate about things in his life, and so that's why we wanted to have him on the podcast. So he's going to talk about different areas of his life, of growing up in Kansas. He has a very interesting dynamic that he'll speak to.
So without any further ado, here's your interview with Carl Bowden. Hello, Carl.
Welcome.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, welcome
Yeah,
to
well,
Ask a
thanks.
Kansan.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
So we know Carl really well. We're not going to hide that. Carl has helped us at Feely with because I came in on the end of that.
So it was Discovering Leadership.
Yeah.
It's a leadership course that I started out with when I first started the business. I think in the first 2 years. So it was probably like 21
It was
or
21 because I came in October of 2021, and that was when we did the team thing. And I just remember I'd been here for like 2 weeks, and we got like really deep as a team, and I was like crying 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
In a good way.
It was good. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. You did a great job. You dove head first.
I did drive head first. But yeah.
We're all the same age, which I think
We
is
are.
interesting. We all graduated in
I
2010.
didn't even realize that.
2010.
Yeah.
Did you go to South or Central?
Central.
Okay.
Gus's
That's
class.
why I was
Yeah.
South. Okay. I guess we'll just start out with my introduction to you was your brother invited me to your house, and it was what party was it?
Oh, the Frank Sinatra
The Frank
formal.
Sinatra
Oh,
party.
wow.
Yeah.
I missed out.
And I was like, oh, this is so cool. And that's, I think, where I first like really met you. And it's funny, since I started working here, everyone's like, oh, do you know Carl? I'm like, yeah, I played poker in his living room.
That was a very interesting time to meet me.
It was a very interesting time.
That was in your Frank Sinatra period, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's still
It was
going.
a great
It's
party.
still going.
It was a great party, and it's still a thing today. Like, you're still
Yeah.
doing it in Wichita.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because it's a fun time where you get to dress up. You
Zoot
kind of
suit.
pick a character from that era and just kind of like try to find a dress or a suit
Man.
to match. You drink whiskey, and that's really all that you drink, right? Is
Well, wine and spirits.
wine and spirits. That's
and
right.
hors d'oeuvres. So
Yeah, hors d'oeuvres.
formal attire.
Yes.
It's
really
nice, yeah.
fun. It's a fun time. So that was my first experience with Carl. Carl was playing poker in his living room with a bunch of friends.
Yeah. It's grown like tremendously. So when we did it, there were probably, I don't know, 10 to 15 people.
yeah.
Now, like the first time that I did it in Wichita, there were about 50.
Oh, wow.
And then this last year, there's about 100. So
Holy
I
smokes.
partnered up with a few friends in Wichita, and it's just growing like crazy. And now we have like Frank Sinatra movies on the wall. We have the lighting.
Oh, my gosh.
Everyone's all done up, and we have like a selfie corner.
Yep.
Or like it's really cool. It's evolved.
How did you first meet Carl?
Honestly, I don't remember. We were probably in middle school.
At least, yeah.
Really?
Probably 6th grade at least. Was it music or?
Yeah, because were you in jazz band at Lakewood?
Yes.
Yeah.
That
What
was
did you
it.
play?
It's probably 7th or 8th grade jazz band.
Yep.
Yeah, because we were the rhythm section.
Yes.
I played the drum set.
I guess I did not know that. I
Yeah,
was also a percussionist in middle school. and
We
high
have
school.
so much in common.
we do.
Yeah, but I was more of like timpani and like bells, xylophone, all that. yeah, Taylor Anderson always got the drums because he was a lot better than me. But
My wife is a percussionist.
yeah,
so like,
Gus's wife is a
it's
percussionist.
just kind of strange at sometimes. How,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
No, I think Carl and I, we probably didn't talk for quite a while. And then you were in the Radicals for a while. and
Yes.
I was in my band Everyday Lights, and
Yeah.
we played a gig.
I did not know you were in a band.
I know.
Yeah.
Your
kinds
cool
of stuff.
factor just went up.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you still
I
play?
mean,
Not as much as I used to. I did play on a couple worship teams. So
Okay.
First Covenant Church here in Salina, and then Zake Church in Wichita. I'm not in any kind of band right now, just because I have a ton of things going on in Wichita.
Okay.
So
it's a good
yeah.
excuse.
So, did you live in Salina or outside of Salina growing up?
In Salina,
Okay.
right like downtown area, so 10th Street, very close to Santa Fe there.
Okay.
But I worked out on the farm near Gypsum, Kansas.
Okay.
So we went back and forth from Gypsum to Salina, whether it's for work or family. So
So
yeah.
your family owned that farm in Gypsum, or you just
Yeah.
worked there? Your family owned it?
Yeah. So they still own it. My dad's actually out there right now.
Okay.
He had some health issues recently. So he's kind of recovering out there because it's a smaller house. It's a one-level house. But my grandparents, they lived out there.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we farmed the ground, whether
Okay.
it's crops or
Yeah.
cattle.
So you saw kind of the urban part of Salina and probably fairly extreme rural
Yeah.
Slim County growing up.
Definitely.
That's
and
very
honestly, that's kind of how my personality developed. Like, I'm familiar with the urban side of things, but also rural and just getting outside and becoming more familiar with outdoors and everything. So it's been a very unique way to grow up, I think.
So maybe you should tell us a little bit about, like, obviously we all go to high school and then you went to college, and maybe pick up the story there, like how
Where'd you
you
go to-
found your path.
Well,
And go ahead.
Where'd you go to school at?
Yeah. So went to Salina Central.
Okay.
I was born and raised here in Salina. Spent my first 18 years in Salina. I've always been very involved with a lot of different things. The outdoors has always been a very prominent part of my life, mainly through farming and just being outside all the time, hunting, fishing. Had a really close friend growing up where we would just go explore, catch all these different types of critters. We would catch
The fact that you call them critters is the best part.
well, I picked up on that from a professor at K-State. He would always call them critters, so I start saying that now. So we would catch like snakes, turtles, frogs,
Critters.
lizards, yeah, all kinds of stuff crawling around and whatnot. We would lift up rocks and logs and everything and just go exploring. So that got me more connected with the land, which eventually led to a degree in wildlife conservation biology at K-State. So I spent about 5 years in Manhattan, Kansas, just studying the outdoors. So I have some experience with studying big cats, so mountain lions. I studied them in Jackson, Wyoming, so Grand Teton National Park area. It was one of the best summers I've ever had, like, in my life. It was absolutely amazing. And then I got involved with a tiger research project. It was called the Proustin Project. I did more like business development or kind of grant coordination with that as well. I worked for Kansas Wildlife and Parks. I was an environmental specialist for a golf course superintendents association in Lawrence for a little bit. I worked for the Land Institute here in Salina, focused on regenerative agriculture, did more environmental education there. But then actually back at K-State, that's when I discovered my passion for leadership. So it was after one of the craziest summers of my life where I sold educational books in Connecticut. Yeah.
Please tell me you were a door-to-door sales
was.
kid selling books in order to pay for college. And I'm that sad mom. And I'm like, I can't buy your magazine subscription today. I'm so sorry.
No, that's exactly what it was.
Oh my gosh.
It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I worked 80 hours every week, Monday through Saturday.
Oh,
Only day off was Sunday, and Sunday we were learning about what we could do better for the next
Oh
week.
my gosh.
wow.
So I learned a lot. There were about 15 people that went through that internship, and whatever
How did
that
you
was called.
find that internship is what I'm curious about.
Well, there's a lot of recruiters at K-State that just kind of networked throughout the
okay.
campus, and I went to this informational meeting, and
It's kind of like buying a timeshare. You just do it without really knowing it, and then you're just there.
pretty much. Well, I didn't really have like any other good opportunities
Yeah.
for that summer. I was like, okay, this is different, and I could probably learn something from it.
I bet you learned a lot.
A ton. And I think that really helped me on my entrepreneurial journey too, because it taught me to commit to things and to like persist when times get really tough. So, like I said, there's only about 15 people that started out, but only 4 finished. I was one of the 4. So people were just like, forget this. I gotta get out of here. This is way too hard. But me and my friend Tom Fredrickson, you know Tom, he and I were roommates in that, and it was one of the craziest adventures. So that was actually probably the start of that interest in leadership development. I came back, felt more motivated than I've ever been in my entire life by going through that experience. Got involved with student government. I was a senator at K-State, and then led the Wildlife Society as president there. I joined the Delta Chi fraternity, got involved with some positions there, but it was through the fraternity where I found this John Maxwell book. It was the 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader. So I started reading that book, and I just became hooked. I didn't like reading really anything before that time. But then I came across leadership, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't even put this down. So I read it like 4 to 5 times back to back to back.
Oh, wow.
And just applied one of those qualities every day to try to make positive change in my community, the world I was living in. And then that passion for leadership just kept on growing. Eventually, I became certified as a Maxwell Leadership team member to coach, train, and speak, and really run my own leadership development company. And that's what started the business that I'm currently in, Exemplify Leadership. So,
do you think there is something kind of in? I relate a lot of things back to like childhood, like how something like kind of formed a piece of my personality. Do you think there was something between kind of the working on the family farm and growing up in the city that kind of helped shape that leadership love, or how do you think that kind of?
There's been many moments in my life that I reflect on that have led me to this moment today. And I don't know if I could say it's just one thing. It's kind of a conglomeration of a bunch of different experiences and stories that got me to just live to who I am as a leadership developer and someone that loves the outdoors and gets people connected with the outdoors and doing that leadership development in that setting. So there's a few other stories that come to mind. I think farming is one of them. My dad, he was a very big influence on me for just leading my own life as well. This is kind of a funny quote of his, but he would say, lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
That's good.
So it was a very blunt quote, but I think that it planted a seed in me to like really start leading.
Or get out of the way. I like that. I need that on a plaque somewhere.
Yeah. And then another story, like I think this goes back to when I was like 3 years old. One of my favorite movies growing up was The Lion King. So if you think about that movie, it's all about leadership. It's all about conservation. I'm telling you. So Mufasa, phenomenal leader. He is all about the plants and animals. He's all about service. The community's thriving. He dies. Scar, his evil brother, takes over. Scar is very selfish, self-centered. What happens to the plants and animals? It all goes away. The land becomes desolate. Simba, after his time of just exploring and figuring out who he is, he finally realizes that passion within himself and his call to lead his community, the Pride Lands. So he goes back and restores that. And I reflect on that. I'm like, man, that is such a similar story, I feel like, to my story in terms of the outdoors and leadership and just wanting to serve others. So that had a huge influence on me. Another moment.
I just have to say, like,
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
realizing that I've never appreciated that movie fully. Like, wow, that was
I could never watch it because the dad dies. And like,
Oh.
as someone who's personally watched their dad die, I can't watch that movie. But now I'm like,
is fair.
oh, that is very, like, that's a whole different twist on that movie
Yeah.
that I've never even thought about before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
have to rewatch it.
you know, if you think about like Mufasa dying, Simba being his son, like the leadership qualities that Mufasa had in order to lead Simba, like parenting is so focused on leadership. Like good parenting requires really good leadership. And that's another passion of mine. I mean, I'm not a father yet, but that's something I feel like I'm called to, excited to get into. But like, I love like learning from parents and leaders
all kinds of stories
in the family and
There's a whole
everything.
podcast for
But
that.
yeah, but yeah, another story I was thinking of, and Gus, you know this name, Scott Bly.
Oh yeah.
So he nominated me for Boys State of Kansas. I didn't even know what this was, but it was basically like almost like a mock trial of government for juniors in high school. And they would send you off to a college campus, it's K-State at the moment. And I did that. And
What was your role?
I was a senator.
Awesome.
But honestly, at the time, I wasn't really into it. But I think Scott planted that seed in me to like get into that. And then eventually I became a senator at K-State for student government. And anyways, like during that moment, the end of that experience, there's a guy that gave a speech just about life and how to lead it. I've never broke down more than that moment in my entire life. And I think that probably kind of cracked the egg of this is where I need to be in terms of like leadership development. And it's just small moments like that in your life that help you see the next step forward to go on the path that you're meant to go down. Now it's up to you to recognize that, to realize the path that you need to go down. One thing I would say I'm proud of, like for my life, is just listening to that path. I feel like it's very hard for people to listen to it because they're scared of what others might think or the risk that it takes to succeed in that. But I think we can't truly live to our highest potential if we're not living to that calling, to that passion, and to the path that we're meant to go down. That was a lot.
That was
That
awesome.
was
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
I think, I think one of the things I hear a lot of people say is like they look up to leaders. And I think, that's great, but it implies that leaders are above you and that leaders, you can be a leader at any position, wherever you are. And if you accept that, even though that you're maybe not a leader in the eyes of your organization, you can still be a leader and make a difference. And honestly, in this time as in every other in human history, we need more capable leaders that can lead us forward.
Yeah. Leadership is an activity. It is being the example. It is influence. So anytime we create an activity that has action to create influence through our example, we can make positive change. Anyone can lead. It doesn't require a position. However, there is a huge stereotype in our world that that's all it is that position. So we can lead others through, I guess, permission from others to have them basically follow us in whatever we're working towards, or we can lead from authority. Ultimately, we don't really want to lead from authority. We want to lead from that permission that others give us because of what we do to serve them. That's the important thing.
So when you started your business, Exemplify, a lot of this was internal, right? Like, I mean, you had been in part of Maxwell. You had done some things, but you were kind of, there's a marked shift into being pretty out there with not out there. Well, yeah, like being presenting your thoughts on leadership to others and to the world in general. And what's been awesome is to watch you really flourish and come alongside all of these different leaders and different elements and other people within the leadership development community. Yeah. Can you just talk about that journey and what it's been like?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think one thing I do well is making connections. I feel like we've experienced that with a networking group that we're in Wichita Professional Advisors. But also just like getting connected with other leaders in Wichita. I think the reason I've been able to do that is because I do things afraid. So
elaborate.
Yeah. So like if there's a major speaker and I go to that speaking engagement, I make a point to introduce myself every single time. So let's say it's the mayor of Wichita, or maybe it is the CEO of Textron Aviation, or some high up business leader or government official. I make a point to introduce myself scared. So it's not that there is no fear there, but like me just having the willingness to introduce myself usually leads to some other opportunity. And it's constantly maintaining that relationship just through consistent communication that has allowed me to do that. But how did I get into Exemplify? How did this all start?
Yeah,
please.
I was working at the Land Institute at the time. I was doing environmental education, community building, kind of event planning. At that time, I was there for about 3 years. COVID hit, and none of that was happening. So they didn't really need me anymore, to be honest. So I was let go. I was let go from that job, but I still had 2 months to figure out, okay, what's next? At that time, I had been certified with the Maxwell leadership team, had all the tools and resources to start my own business. I had just never started a business before. So I called a bunch of different coaches, a bunch of different leaders all across Kansas, well, and really the nation, to just get a better understanding of what does it mean to be a leadership coach. So I had a pretty good understanding. I had been studying leadership for about 10 years prior to that, and I've just been volunteering in a bunch of different organizations. But I didn't know exactly what it meant to run a leadership development company. So I called some coaches. I called the Kansas Leadership Center down in Wichita. And there were about 2 or 3 people that were like, you need to start this business. I had everything I needed. I had the passion. I had the vision. I just had to do it. But again, I had never done this before. Now, I was about to partner with a coach here in Salina. Now, this coach asked me before I decided to start a business, or before I decided to partner with her, she asked me, what's holding you back from starting this business? Like, well, I'm probably just scared. I've never done this before. And she's like, you have this amazing opportunity to combine all your passions of the outdoors and leadership and do leadership in the outdoors, do retreats with companies and teams. And that's when I realized I just got to go for it. Like I got to jump off the cliff and build my wings on the way up and just take it step by step and go for it. So that's what I did. That's how I got started. Now, how did I get to Wichita? I was dating a person at the time. Didn't end up working out, which is okay. But that's how I got to Wichita. Started the business at the same time. Got into my master's of business administration at Wichita State. So I was balancing all that for the first 2 years. Graduated with my MBA, and then just continued to run the business. And since that relationship didn't work out, I just decided to stay in Wichita because I'd built such a good community and building those prominent connections in Wichita. So that's pretty much the story. I've been going about 4.5 years so far. So just after you started your business, Gus.
Yeah. It's so fun. I think this is our 6th episode. Is that right?
Yes.
And so many of them have involved entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we have a trend that we didn't really actually meant to trend on, to be honest. We thought we were picking just really cool people when we started doing this list, and we're like, oh, they've all started something and finished something and proud of something, and which is what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of a through line, which we don't like. We'll diversify. Sorry, listeners, but so far this is just the people we like. So,
well, and I think it says a lot about Kansas and the type of people who live here.
yes,
That when we see opportunities, pretty often we kick ourselves off of that ledge and we actually do something about it.
Yeah, what's the motto of Kansas? Ad astra per aspera.
Yeah.
Is that to the stars through every difficulty? Or
Yeah, through difficulty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly the Latin translation. But
I
yeah.
absolutely love that like slogan or whatever you call it. Like it's so inspiring. And honestly, I feel like that's how a lot of Kansans are, is that their willingness to like go through the tough times and just commit and be values based in what they do and do what they love.
I like that motto isn't just aspirational and it's not just all positivity. You know, it acknowledges that that you are going to go through some pretty awful things, but there's the implication that those things are one of the things that help you make it in the end is by surviving all of that and making it through it.
Yeah. And that's something I think we need to be reminded of every single day, and especially in today's age.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people that just want instant gratification, instant success, but success does not give you instant gratification. You have to be willing to take the punches. You have to be willing to go through all the difficulties in this time. So it's tough. But if we can get through the difficulties in a community together, anything is possible.
there's a Bluey episode that speaks specifically on that of like when you are earning something versus it just being given to you is so much more. There's an episode where the kids want ice cream. And the parents are like, but you got to earn it. And they're like, no, I just want ice cream. Well, then the dad plays this game of where he's just a floppy doll, basically. And the kids have to work to get him in the vehicle to go get the ice cream because he's the one with the money. Mm-hmm. And so the whole episode is how they get him in the vehicle. And so when they're finally getting ice cream, he's like, so is it better working for it or something like that? And the kids are like, yeah, we get it now. Yeah. And so it's funny how that translates. I speak in Bluey terms, so because I'm
it's super important that the lessons we teach our kids, I mean, all of us experience that as kids, right?
Yeah.
That the things that our parents put in front of us shape who we become.
Yeah,
and so it's powerful. That's a powerful message to share with your kids.
That's one thing I'm very grateful for with my parents. Like they definitely taught us to work hard. especially out on the farm and harvesting grain or working cattle, or even in Salina though too. Like we would always be doing chores, cleaning up the house, mowing the lawn, feeding the cats, like all these little things. But it would teach us responsibility. It would teach us that like we're not just given things, like we have to work for it. And it's taught me so much in life. And as an entrepreneur, like you gotta have those attributes, those qualities. Because if you don't have that, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back.
This episode is sponsored by Renaissance Cafe. Serving Northern Italian cuisine prepared with a fresh, contemporary influence, the Renaissance Cafe is one of Kansas's favorite restaurants. Whether you're planning a romantic dinner date, a family celebration, or an intimate meal with friends, the Renaissance provides a unique dining experience with an old-world atmosphere. Open Thursday through Saturday evenings, the Renaissance Cafe is located just south of Salina in Assyria, Kansas. Visit renaissancecafeassyria.com to book your reservation today.
One thing I was going to mention. So you have a brother and a sister, right?
Yeah.
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 I feel like all of you have very different personalities.
Yeah.
Where
in a
some
way.
siblings can be very similar, and then some siblings, like my brother and I, are like, we have similar senses of humor, but other than that, we're nothing alike.
Yeah.
So do you see like bits of, you said your dad was a big influence on you. Do you think, I don't really know where I'm going with this, but it's only because like I know your brother
Yeah.
that I asked this, because it feels like you guys are in very different, I don't know, not necessarily sets of mind, but like, how do you think, I don't know where I'm going with this question.
We have very similar interests, but different types of personality.
Yeah.
Like I'm more structured, organized, kind of by the book, and he's more free flowing.
Yeah.
More energetic, I would say.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic.
Enthusiastic. There we
would be
go.
a better term. I'm more like even keeled, like calm, cool, collected, confident. At least I would hope. Anyways, I hope those are the attributes. But I have gotten those attributes from other people before.
Yeah.
So yeah. But like James and I, we have very similar interests in terms of being outdoors, conservation, the sciences, a lot of things like that. So
And is that something like, I know you said like growing up on the farm versus growing up also in the city, that's probably where you guys get it from. But did your parents introduce you to anything like that? Like, are those also similar to your parents' favorite things to do? I know that's a weird
their
thing to ask.
personalities
Yeah.
or interests. Yeah. So I think my brother and I got a lot of my dad's attributes in terms of like being outside, the leadership type of thing, farming, conservation. Another attribute that I had mentioned earlier is connections. Like my dad and my brother are phenomenal at connecting, and we're just a very well connected family. I would say mainly on the men in our family. They're very well connected, and I've also developed that attribute, and I try to live into that in my business as well. But then my mom, she's a very caring, loving soul. And I feel like I've really taken some of those attributes and just like caring for others, serving for others, and also my faith as well. So I think there's bits and pieces that each of my siblings pick up in my parents or in each other, really, to develop, I guess, who we are and like where we want to go. So it's interesting to see those similarities, but also differences as well, because there are stark differences, like you had mentioned.
Yeah. My brother and I, he's, 6'4", burly welder guy, and I'm, marketing mom, and it's funny, like our sense of humor is relatively the same. Interests far different, but we got the same personality traits from our parents. They just show differently. So that's why I like to ask siblings that. It's curiosity, and I'm nosy.
In our conversations over the years, we kind of started with more of the basics of leadership, and now we're more into visionary type stuff.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people think that like business mentorship and leadership development is real businessy. And a lot of it is about relationships and soft skills and understanding personalities, both our own and the people on our team and the people we interact with. So I guess how do you advise people to start their own journey on that path of kind of identifying their own leadership personality and how it applies to others?
Yeah, definitely. So ultimately, when leading others, should always be about that other person. If I could tell anyone anything about leadership development, it's not about me and what I want to accomplish or what I want to have happen, but what do they want to accomplish and how can I give them the tools and resources to make that happen? It's about lifting others up. I tell people all the time, I don't tell people what to do. I help people find the potential within themselves. So ultimately, when we're talking, Gus, I start where you are. What do you want to accomplish? And then we just kind of walk together in that conversation, kind of guide you along this journey, and then we come to a certain destination. And that destination usually leads to action after going through these deep conversations that we have. So like you said, like leadership is all about people. It's about serving others. It's about that relationship. A lot of it's behavioral. It's not really always just about like the numbers or anything like that. It's human relationships. So a lot of our conversations right now are about vision. Where do you want to go? And that requires a community that's connected with each other to build a culture that positively transforms the world that you're in with the services that you use to make that difference in the world. So if we can get others to focus on other people rather than themselves, we're going to be in a much better place. There's a quote that I just kind of made up my own like recently.
Carl
and
Bowden.
Carl Bowden. It states, leadership starts with us, but ends with others. So there's a very fine balance in all this. It starts with our example, our influence, our activity, our action, but the end goal has to be others. If it's not, it's just focused on us, that's manipulation. And that's scary. But we have to be that example in order to positively transform the people around us. And this is something I feel like a lot of people don't pay enough attention to, because each one of our influences makes a huge difference in the people around us, whether we realize it or not. Now, you could look at the political administration at the federal level or state level, wherever, and see that effect, whether good or bad. So depends how deep you guys want to get into politics on that. But that character in those leaders permits others to act that same way. So if that's a bad character quality, we could be in a very bad place as a country. If it's a good quality, then we'll start picking up on those character traits. So that is something we really need to pay attention to, because your example, Sydney's example, everyone's example matters.
Obviously, I think this is a time in our country's history where we have to do some soul searching and decide what the future looks like and what where we want our society to go. And, I'm encouraged by the work that you do, Carl, because I think that I can definitely see how it's benefited me and our organization here. And I'm excited to think of if we could get more leadership development happening at various levels and with different people, the effects that could have. Do you have a vision for that? Like what the next step of leadership development in the United States looks like?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is something I'm constantly thinking about every single day, and I don't know if I'll ever have it perfect or have the system to make it all work. There's 3 words that come to mind that I've just continually repeated in business, and it's community, connection, and culture. If we can build the right type of communities to get people closely connected with each other to positively transform the businesses and the communities around us, we're going to be in a much better place. Now, how do we get people to focus on leadership development? That's something that I always think about, and it's hard to find a really good answer for that. And I think it depends on where people are at in their life. Sydney and I were talking earlier about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
So at the very top of that pyramid is self-actualization. So that's kind of your purpose, your vision, your belonging. Leadership development is also in that category. Now, in order to really focus on that, you kind of have to have all the foundational pieces of that pyramid. So at the bottom of that pyramid would be things like shelter, water, food, safety, and security. There's a few other parts in there as well, but it's hard to focus on that top of that pyramid, the leadership, the self-actualization, if we don't have those bottom parts filled. So that's one thing that I'm trying to think of is like, okay, how do we get people to still focus on leadership development and that service to others when they might not always have the foundational pieces of their needs met?
Yeah. I feel like that that really puts the onus on those that are on top of that pyramid to do what they can to help others and do what they can to lift others up and put them in those positions so that we can, grow it all. I'm a deep believer in the people of Kansas.
Yeah.
And we may not all agree about everything every day or every minute or every issue, but I think that we do generally care about each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes we just need to be reminded of that the people that are responsible for building the communities in which we live here in Kansas, they were able to come together despite their differences. And we can do that too, if we believe in it and prioritize it.
Yeah. That's something, one thing that you said there is together. That's a very important word when it comes to leadership development. It's not about building walls. It's about building bridges. It's about connecting others together to unite. Also, I think we had a conversation in coaching sessions past where, you had the idea of like not necessarily unifying to one thought, but like having multiple different thoughts and perspectives still coming together and collaborating, but still staying independent in what we believe. And that is definitely what leadership development is. It's not really about one unified thought or belief, but like, let's respect each other's perspectives, experiences, beliefs, but still be able to collaborate in that. I think that's very important.
I agree. Well, I'm hoping that our audience, different elements of this conversation might enter your brain and you might get excited. If you're a person who wants to develop your own leadership capability, I think Carl's a great person to reach out to. And one of the amazing things about Carl, and I think Sydney can back this up, is that he is selfless even in the way he connects with others. And so even if he can't help you himself, he knows somebody that can.
Yeah.
And I mean that makes it super great to have you in our lives.
Yeah.
So thank you.
If our
Yeah.
audience wants to reach you, how do they reach you?
Yeah. So they can visit exemplifyleadership.com. They'll kind of explain my story, all the services that I provide for businesses. I do a lot of outdoor leadership retreats. I created this membership community for leaders at all different levels of an organization, whether it's C-suite executives to people that don't even have a position and they just want to be involved with an accountability group. So definitely visit the website. My email, it's on the website. They can find that. I'm in Wichita. So if they're in the Wichita area, I'd love to just sit down, have a cup of coffee with them and just get to know their story. They can get to know my story and just learn from each other there.
And do you only serve Wichita or do you travel?
I serve the world, I feel like. So, I mean, I've had a client in Africa for the first 3 years of
Wow.
being in business. So that wasn't a client that I've traveled to, but I do still serve them.
Yeah.
So with what I do, like there are no limits. There's no boundaries of where I can work. I do focus on Wichita because I believe it's important to build a very strong, close-knit community first, then expand out into other places. But yeah, if there's someone in Africa, in Europe, or across the United States, or other parts of Kansas, like I'm here.
Cool.
I'm available. So
I think just to speak directly to our audience briefly, I think just in the same way, if you want to connect within the state with people, we'd love to have you on the podcast to have conversations like this, because I think it's conversations like this. It doesn't always have to be in front of a camera or with a mic on it, but conversations are an important way that we kind of increase our social fabric and grow together more tightly. And I think that's the answer to many of the problems that ail us in the world. And I think we've talked about that a fair amount today.
Yeah, it's so important to just provide the space. And that's what you guys are doing with Ask a Kansan, is just providing the space and allowing those conversations to happen. That's so important to just understand each other. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing here.
Thanks. And we sure appreciate what you're doing too.
Awesome.
Thanks
Thank you.
for coming on today.
Thanks.
Of course. Thanks.
Want to spread your organization's message across Kansas? Consider becoming a sponsor. Ask a Kansan has a unique focus on Kansas and its people. By sponsoring our podcast, your organization can reach people from Canaredo to Kansas City, Wichita to Washington, and all the great places in between. We have a variety of sponsorship packages available to fit your budget and needs. For more information, visit askakansan.com/sponsorships or call us at 785-571-9507. Thanks for listening to that conversation with Carl. I just, again, he's very passionate about what he, just his life, I feel like in general, between whether it's leadership coaching or just family or just different outlooks on kind of the things, I don't know, he's experienced, like from being a city kid and a farm kid at the same time. The Lion King was a new one for me.
Yeah, same.
I'm never gonna watch that movie the same ever again. What about you?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me to kind of separate my my thoughts about Carl as my leadership coach from the interview.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that Carl kind of inspires in me every time I talk to him is just kind of that ability to push himself off the ledge. And be like, I'm thinking about doing this. He doesn't think about it. He just does it. And the way that manifests most notably is he is an excellent networker. You know, he's always connecting with new people. He's always looking for opportunities to go out and meet people and connect them with each other. And that's such a powerful thing, especially in a state like Kansas where, a lot of people know each other. We have a couple million people living here.
Yep.
But there's still opportunities for connection everywhere you look.
Well, and he's just so genuine about it. That's the thing that just blows my mind is like, part of my job is networking, but it does not come as naturally to me as it does for Carl, where Carl's just like, oh yeah, this is, but he just lays it out and you're like, oh, That is such like it's thoughtful in
yeah.
in how he networks. It's not just having a random conversation.
It was fun to talk a little bit about his family and the
Mhm.
differences there. I hope sometime we can have James on, his brother, because it'd be fun to,
It'd be
have
fun.
our audience compare and contrast
Yeah.
these two guys. They're awesome in so many different ways.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay. It's the tables have turned where I was just gonna like hit you with random trivia, but I think I'm gonna make you do where in the rectangle
Okay.
just because now it peaks to me. So where in the rectangle? Stoll, Kansas.
Definition. No. How do you
Stoll,
spell?
Stull. Stoll, Kansas.
It sounds like a small like animal that runs around the ground.
Kind of, yeah.
Well, if it is a small animal, it's probably chased by lions. So I'm going to choose Lyon County.
You're close. It's Douglas County.
Douglas. Okay. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, you're close. Douglas County.
Up
So Stoll was founded in 1857, but it's got a weird legend behind it.
here. Ooh.
So, as any good person does, I went to newspaper.com. It's my new favorite place.
I've never thought of that. I should have done that. Oh,
Yeah.
Man.
So, and the people of Stoll really don't like Halloween because there is a cemetery there that used to have a church on it. It's abandoned now. It's been collapsed. But people say that this cemetery in Stoll, the devil visits twice a year. And one of those is Halloween. And part of the reason is because if you look down at the bottom, according to the legend, the people who settled in Stoll practiced witchcraft, and at least one witch was said to have been hung from a tree in the graveyard. So yeah, Stoll, Kansas.
I'm going to go ahead and give this place a wide margin. Just walk on the other side of the highway, so to speak.
I think the population is around that 300 mark. Let me look it up real quick. But
it's funny that the town's zip code begins with 666.
Does it?
That's what it says there. Yeah.
Oh, you're not wrong. But yeah, so to so about the church in the graveyard, they built it. So to repent from their sorcery, the settlers built a church in 1867, but they abandoned it in the early 1900s to build a new one down the hill. So if you go to this graveyard today, there's a bunch of like keep out signs, and you can't get into it unless like your family, because people will go there and vandalize and try to see the devil. Oh, you're right. The zip code. Well, the zip code here says it's 66050.
Oh, well, in 1889.
In 1989, this newspaper article.
Of course, it came out on October 31st, this article.
Yeah.
Yep.
All the articles that I could find about Stoll, Kansas came out in October because of this graveyard.
So what I really want to know is if he comes twice a year.
What's the other day?
What's the other day?
My guess is like this is more. What's the opposite of October?
I mean, April or March, probably. March.
Yeah, spring.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
St. Patrick's Day. Maybe the devil likes a beer every once in a while.
Does he come out with a nice Irish accent and
probably? Trying to find
fascinating.
Let's see. As of okay. Let's see. Founded in 1857, the settlers were initially known as Deer Creek by Pennsylvania Dutch settlers, till it was renamed after its only postmaster, Sylvester Stoll. So that's where it gets its name.
I thought you were going to say Stallone, and I was like,
no, not Sylvester Stallone.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can't find a population though. Maybe no one lives there anymore.
I think it's so interesting. Nowadays, like when people move, they're typically moving as like a family unit.
Yeah.
it's like a mom and a dad and two kids and maybe a grandma, and they're
Mhm.
moving cross country or whatever. Like back in the day, it was like all these people that are weirdly similar in every way going like in a big group.
Yeah.
Like like a few episodes ago, I was talking about the group of vegetarians that found their way to
Yes.
Kansas. And here's the devil worshippers. It must have just been so weird in this area when there's these big groups of people that are all really into one thing.
Just moving around from place
Yeah.
to place.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. I also kind of daydream about what my ancestors were like. Like the Swedes showing up with their lutefisk and pickled herring.
They just say yep and nod their head a lot.
Yeah. Accurate.
Yeah.
Have you heard people in your organization say, we need video? At Feely Creative, we develop videos to drive your marketing strategy. We are problem solvers, crafting messaging and visuals to achieve business goals. Whether you need to share your organization's identity, convey company culture, attract the right people to your team, or put your products on display, Feely will help you communicate effectively and get back to what you do best. Let's get creative. Feely Creative.
Well, the other thing I wanted to do today is introduce kind of a new segment of just humans in Kansas.
Okay.
So, and I bring this up because this weekend, and actually you've experienced this too, of like random kindness from people.
Mm.
And so my story is I was at the grocery store this weekend and I needed yeast. And for whatever reason, they hide it in the baking aisle. But this was Easter weekend. And so there's like 4 other people in the baking aisle at Dillon's in McPherson. And so finally I'm just like, here's the deal. I need yeast. What does everyone else need? Because we're all looking for some random thing that we probably only buy once a year. And the guy next to me was like, well, I'm looking for caramel morsels. I'm like, all right, I'm on caramel morsels. You look for yeast. And so and he found my yeast. I'm like, okay, let's find your caramel morsels. We could never find them. We think they were sold out. But it just got us having a conversation. I'm like, well, what do you use caramel morsels for? Can't even say it. And he's like, well, I'll put them in my monster cookies. And he's telling me about these awesome freaking monster cookies. He puts M&Ms, semi-sweet chocolate chips, Reese's Pieces, the caramel morsels, butterscotch. And I'm like, is there anything else in this cookie? And he goes, well, they're really big cookies. They're over 900 calories. And I'm like, how do you know there's over 900 calories in each of these cookies? But he was so passionate about it and I loved it so much. And he's like, oh, by the way, for making cookies this weekend, you need to grab some of this. And he grabbed some corn syrup off the shelf. And he's like, 2 tablespoons of this in any cookie and they'll always be soft. I'm like, really? He's like, yes. I was like, okay, well, now I need to try that. But it's just like random kindness and just like sharing, maybe oversharing sometimes, but sharing just random things in the grocery aisles. Like, why don't we do that anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to try to just move past the fact that you said Reese's Pieces.
Reese's, well, no, they're, is it Reese's Pieces? The M&M Reese, like peanut
Reese's
butter.
Pieces?
Is that what that is? I don't eat them. I don't like them. Whatever those
I'm
are.
sorry, I distracted. I agree with you. I've tried really hard over the last few years to just be aware of what's going on around me when I'm in public and just watch for people showing their best side to the world. And it's kind of incredible how often it happens and how selfless people can be. And I think, that's what a functioning society should be, right? Is people that selflessly show up for each other. And I think it's really cool that I'm not brave enough to do what you did and just engage several strangers in conversation. But that's cool. So you said that there was 3 other people in the aisle. Did the other 2 people?
They completely ignored me.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yep. It was funny because this guy looked real rough too. He was real rough looking.
Yeah.
But the nicest person on the face of the planet. And the other 2 were like grandmas. Real sweet looking grandmas.
Well, if you want, I can share the story that I've shared on my social media recently.
Yep.
So I apologize to any of my followers that have to listen to this again. But so I was in a local sandwich shop last week, And I was checking, I was about to have my order taken, and the young woman behind the what do you
Counter?
call it? Counter. Thank you. She was super stressed out. She was just, she wasn't really looking at me. She was just kind of staring blankly straight ahead. And I sensed her tensing up and getting more nervous by the minute. And one of her coworkers came over and basically asked, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No." And so he relieved her, and she went to the back, and he like asked me, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He's like, "Well, let me go glove up and then we can get started." So he did that. And while he was over there, he kind of peeked around the corner to check on her, and she seemed to be doing okay, I guess. And I saw him make eye contact with some of the other coworkers that were there. And I kind of saw this like moment of communication between them when it was like, okay, I'm stressed out. We're all stressed out. She can't really help us right now. But he kind of motioned to her to join him. And so the two of them came back out front, and so he started, making my sandwich, asking me kind of the same questions that you always get asked. And it started going together pretty quickly. And as he was doing this, he was describing everything he was doing to the young woman. And what just really stood out to me was the warmth in his voice. He was deliberate in how he was talking to her. And I knew, because I saw just moments earlier how stressed out he was, but he put all of that aside and he just focused on helping her kind of take the next step. And for me, watching that was just like, I've to some extent been in both of those shoes before. I've been that person who just was overwhelmed and just didn't know how to move forward. And I've occasionally had the opportunity to step in for somebody that's doing that same thing. And yeah, I was just touched. I was touched to see this guy, even though he was stressed out, see him kind of step up for her. So,
Love that.
yeah.
I think I was telling my husband my story, and he goes, "Well, what's his name?" And I'm like, "I didn't even ask. I felt so bad. I didn't even ask his name. Because what if I see him in the grocery store again? I can't call him Monster Cookie Guy." I felt bad. So I need to start asking people their names. I won't remember them, but I at least need to try.
Well, I think that's something everybody can try to do better is just watch out for people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for this idea. I like it.
So more segments of humans in Kansas. That's what I'm calling it.
Humans in Kansas.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us today. Hopefully we were entertaining and yet informational.
That's what we strive to be on Ask a Kansan. Again, it is Monday. We apologize. Thank you very much for tuning in to Ask a Kansan again this week, and we will see you again soon.